Greetings. Today I'd like to talk about something other than tarot, although we spend a lot of time on tarot on this platform. I want to spend time today on something called a pattern-breaking exercise, and those kind of fall into a category of their own. We'll look at a particular pattern-breaking exercise, but pragmatic, practical esotericism should provide some easily accessible practices to implement readily, to provide for routine, incremental practice aimed at changing and refining and transforming of the self. Because when we think of magic, we often will find ourselves thinking about magically obtaining this thing, or maybe harming that other thing, or having a desired effect, good or bad, on the surroundings in terms of the circumstances that we find ourselves in and so forth. But oftentimes we have to work on smaller incremental things, and oftentimes we have to work on changing ourselves to make ourselves more aligned with what we want to achieve. So pattern-breaking exercises can serve this function. They can serve this purpose well because they help to jolt us out of the autopilot mode that we find ourselves in, or the waking sleepfulness that we find ourselves in. Now, we all spend a lot of time in autopilot mode, with thoughts coming and going as they please. But we want to have some deliberateness about the language that we use in our thinking. Because just as George Carlin said, the quality of one's thoughts reflect the quality of one's language. You can only think as well or in as good a quality as the language you use to construct the thoughts. So I want to look at standard English versus something called E prime. And there we find an opportunity to break an important pattern. In standard English, we usually use the common and stasis-oriented to be verb frequently. Like all the time. Is, be, are, was, were. These undermine our realization of the changeability of things, situations, and people, including ourselves. Take a listen to a few examples. I am no good at this or that. Or, it's just how I am. That's just how I am. Or, my neighbor is such a jerk. Or, that is just the way things are. Not a lot of room implied for changeability, for improvement, for transformation of things. And we speak and we think and we write in those kinds of terms, and we get a very stasis-oriented view of people, places, and things, versus E prime, which seeks to eliminate the use of the to be verb in both our language, our written language, and our spoken language, and in our thinking. And this serves very well as a pattern breaker to wake us up as we gain awareness of things in our day-to-day activities and thinking and speaking and so forth. It reinforces, in fact, our understanding of the changeability of people and things. Listen to some counterexamples. I need more practice at this. I have a habit of this, that, or the other. My neighbor acted like such a jerk today. Sometimes things go that way. You see, not as much permanence in that language. Imagine some of the changes that you might find yourself undertaking or assuming others capable of undertaking if we integrated this kind of language into our thinking and into our spoken and written activities. E prime promotes a less stasis-oriented perspective. And with practice, this can shift how you look at both yourself and the world at large. It allows you to decisively transform yourself and nudge people and things around you in more desirable directions. So I challenge you to undertake a shift in both your language and the language you use in your thinking. Give it some time. See if you notice any differences in your perspective and in your actions. And as you give it a try, don't get discouraged and don't give up if you find it challenging at first. You have to struggle against some many years of ingrained thinking and speaking and writing patterns, and you won't change those in a couple of days. It can take a lot of time, but I have a feeling if you give it a shot, you'll find it worthwhile. I'd love to hear your results.